4, most people think improvement comes from adding more skills, more opportunities, more tools, more connections. But here's the thing. Before, addition without subtraction often just creates clutter. Imagine trying to run a race while carrying a backpack full of bricks. You could add better shoes, for a fancier watch, or even a cheering crowd, but none of that changes the fact that the real problem is the bricks. The fastest way to go further isn't to add more gear, it's to take the weight off. Subtraction is power because it removes the things that silently drain you. In life, these aren't always obvious. It's easy to spot a bad habit or a toxic relationship in someone else's life, but much harder to see in your own. Before. That's because what you're used to feels normal. You might not even realize how much energy is being wasted until it's gone. For example, 4. Think about the last time you stopped talking to someone who constantly complained or gossiped. At first, you might have felt guilty or awkward, but after a while, you probably noticed you were lighter, calmer, and more focused. Before, you didn't gain more hours in the day. You simply stopped spending them on something that didn't serve you. We live in a culture obsessed with productivity hacks and adding to your daily routine. New apps, new planners, new supplements, new morning rituals. Before, and while some of those things can help, they often become another form of clutter. You can have the best productivity app in the world, but if you're still saying yes to pointless meetings or wasting hours scrolling social media, that app is like adding a turbo engine to a car that's stuck in mud. 4. The subtraction, removing the mud, is the thing that truly makes you move faster. The reason subtraction works so well is because it amplifies everything you keep. If you delete distractions, your remaining time becomes more valuable. If you cut toxic people, the relationships you have left become more nourishing. 4. If you remove unnecessary commitments, the ones that stay get more of your energy. A subtraction focuses your resources instead of scattering them across too many low-impact areas. The process, though, isn't easy. Before, humans are wired to hold onto things, even things that aren't good for us. We cling to relationships because they're familiar, habits because they're comfortable, and possessions because they represent old versions of ourselves. Letting go feels like losing a part of your identity. 4. But here's the truth. The person you want to become cannot exist if you keep carrying everything the old you held on to. Growth means sacrifice, and the sacrifice is usually subtraction. The magic of subtraction is that the benefits compound. If you delete just one distraction from your life, before, you'll free up a little time. But if you delete 10, you might suddenly have the bandwidth to start a side business, learn a new skill, 4, or take better care of your health. Removing things creates space, not just physical or mental space, but space for new opportunities to arrive. Without that space, before, even the best opportunities will pass you by because you simply won't have the capacity to notice or act on them. So if you want more in your life, start by deciding what you can live without. Delete the noise, the clutter, the dead weight. It might feel uncomfortable at first, but you'll soon realize that what you thought was lost was actually freedom. You'll be faster, lighter, and more focused. And when you add something new, 4, it will land in a life that has the space for it to actually make a difference. 4. That's why subtraction isn't just a strategy, it's a source of real power. Excuses are like bricks. Every time you make one, before you lay it down between yourself and the thing you say you want. One excuse doesn't seem like much. You tell yourself, I'm tired today, before I'll do it tomorrow. Or I can't because I don't have the right tools yet. You believe it's harmless, maybe even logical. But the problem is, bricks stack, 1 becomes 2, 2 becomes 10, and before you know it, you've built a wall so high you can't even see the goal on the other side anymore. Before. The reason excuses are so dangerous isn't because they stop you once. It's because they train you to stop yourself every time. 4, you become an expert in avoiding responsibility while convincing yourself you're being reasonable. Your mind becomes a factory for perfectly packaged justifications. And every justification is another brick. The wall gets thicker, stronger, and harder to break through. Most people think excuses are a reaction to circumstances. I would have gone to the gym, 4, but it rained. I wanted to start my business, but I didn't have enough money. I could have spoken up, but I'm not confident enough. The truth is, Circumstances are neutral. It's your choice to use them as a shield that matters. Rain doesn't stop everyone from going to the gym. Before, lack of money doesn't stop every entrepreneur from starting. Low confidence doesn't stop everyone from speaking up. 4. The difference between the people who move forward and the ones who stay stuck is that the first group refuses to pick up the brick in the first place. 4. What makes excuses seductive is that they feel like relief. When you tell yourself you can't, you give yourself permission to stop trying, and that feels good in the moment. It's a short-term dopamine hit. You get to avoid discomfort, risk, and effort, but the cost is high. For you pay with long-term regret, missed opportunities, and the slow erosion of self-respect. Over time, every brick you lay becomes a constant reminder of what you didn't do, and the more you stack them, the heavier your life feels. Or breaking this habit isn't about never feeling tempted to make an excuse. It's about catching yourself before you add another brick to the wall. It starts with being brutally honest. Is this an actual barrier, or is it something I'm telling myself so I don't have to act? That single question can expose the truth fast. Most of the time, the obstacle is smaller than it feels, but the excuse makes it bigger. Once you see the pattern, you can flip it. Instead of stacking bricks, start removing them. Take action even if it's tiny. Go to the gym for 5 minutes, make one sales call, speak one sentence in the meeting. Each action removes a brick from the wall. Do it enough times and the wall crumbles, revealing your goal again. Here's the real kicker: the same energy you use to make excuses can be used to find solutions. 4. The mental effort of saying, I can't because, could just as easily become, how can I? That shift changes everything. You stop building barriers and start building bridges. Bridges don't just connect you to your goal. They keep you moving forward no matter what's in your way. If you keep stacking excuses, you end up trapped in a room you built yourself. If you stop stacking, you give yourself a way out. 4, and if you start dismantling the wall brick by brick, you'll see that the thing you wanted was never as far away as it seemed. The only question is, are you ready to drop the bricks? Cutting energy vampires out of your life might be one of the hardest, but most life-changing things you ever do. 4. Energy vampires are the people who drain you, not physically, but mentally and emotionally. They might not always be obvious. Some are loud and dramatic, constantly bringing chaos into your day. Others are subtle, always complaining, doubting you, or making backhanded comments that chip away at your confidence. You leave their presence feeling heavy, irritated, or less motivated than before. And here's the thing: no matter how much you try to fix them, they won't change if they don't want to. Your energy is like currency. Every conversation, every interaction, every moment of attention is a transaction. With the right people, it's an investment. You give energy, but you get it back multiplied in the form of encouragement, ideas, or genuine support. With energy vampires, it's a debt. They take and take, but never repay. Over time, that debt compounds until you have nothing left to give, not to your work, not to your goals, and sometimes not even to yourself. Most people keep energy vampires in their lives because of guilt. Maybe their family, old friends, or colleagues you've known for years. You tell yourself they mean well, or they've just had a hard life. But if every time you interact with them you feel drained instead of inspired, you're paying a hidden tax on your happiness and productivity. That tax is stealing opportunities from you. It's the time you could have spent learning something new, building your business, getting healthier, or just being around people who make you feel alive. And here's the harsh truth: keeping them close doesn't help them either. It just enables their patterns. Sometimes the best thing you can do for someone is to create space so they're forced to face their own behavior without you constantly buffering the consequences. Cutting them out doesn't always mean a dramatic confrontation or a "we're done" speech. Sometimes it's as simple as reducing your exposure. Answer fewer calls. Keep conversations short. Stop engaging with their negativity. You control your access points. The less energy they can pull from you, the less power they have over your mood and mindset. At first, it might feel uncomfortable, even selfish. But it's not selfish to protect your energy. It's essential. Think about it like oxygen on an airplane. Before, you put your mask on first so you can actually help others. If you keep letting energy vampires take your oxygen, neither of you can breathe. Before, when you remove these people, something incredible happens. You create a vacuum, and that vacuum gets filled. New relationships appear, or ones that actually feed your ambition, celebrate your wins, and challenge you to grow. You'll notice your creativity comes back. Your focus sharpens. For your mood improves, all because you stop letting the wrong people drain you. The right people give you energy just by being around them. You leave conversations with more motivation than you started with, and the more you surround yourself with them, the faster you grow. Before, you don't owe anyone unlimited access to your mind, time, or emotional energy. You owe yourself the best environment to become who you're meant to be. For protect your circle, like your life depends on it, because in many ways it does. Once you cut the energy vampires, you'll realize how much lighter, faster, and stronger you can move toward the life you actually want. And you'll wonder why you didn't do it sooner. Most people think they have an ideas problem when in reality, they have an action problem. They believe the reason they're not moving forward is because they haven't found the perfect plan yet. So they sit there thinking, they tell themselves they're being strategic, but what they're really doing is hiding. Overthinking is just fear dressed up in the clothes of logic. It convinces you that if you just think a little longer, research a little more, prepare a little better, you'll finally be ready. But here's the uncomfortable truth: you'll never be ready. Overthinking is seductive because it feels productive. You're reading articles, making lists, drawing diagrams, having long conversations about possibilities. You feel like you're working on your dream, but in reality, you haven't moved an inch. It's like revving your engine at a green light and wondering why you're not getting anywhere. Action is the opposite. Action feels uncomfortable. It's messy. You don't always know the next step after the first one. It exposes you to criticism and the possibility of failure. That's why your brain tries to keep you in thinking mode, because it's safe there. But safety is not where growth happens. Think about it. No one overthinks themselves into success. Businesses don't grow because the founder sat in a room imagining what might happen. Skills aren't mastered because someone spent hours reading about them without trying. Athletes don't win because they visualized the game 1,000 times but never stepped on the field. The people who get results are the ones who take imperfect action, learn from it, and adapt. They understand that doing teaches you more in 1 week than thinking teaches you in 1 year. Overthinking also kills momentum. You might have a burst of motivation and excitement when an idea first hits you, but if you sit on it too long, that energy evaporates. What was once a clear, exciting goal becomes a vague, maybe someday thought. Action works in the opposite way. The more you do, the more momentum you build. The first step creates the second step creates the third. Soon you're running, and the fear that once paralyzed you starts to fade because you've proven to yourself that you can move forward even without all the answers. A lot of people think action requires confidence, but it's actually the other way around. Confidence is built through action. Every time you do something, even if it's small, you're teaching your brain, I'm the kind of person who makes moves. The more you repeat that, the more your self-belief grows. Overthinking has the opposite effect. Every day you hesitate, you're reinforcing the idea that you're not ready, not capable, not good enough yet. This doesn't mean you should act without any thought at all. Planning has its place, but the purpose of thinking is to prepare for action, not to avoid it. A plan without execution is just a wish. And the best plans are usually formed after you've already taken the first few steps and learned from real-world feedback. You can't steer a parked car, but once it's moving, you can adjust the direction anytime you want. If you've been sitting on an idea, waiting for the perfect time to start, here's your sign. The perfect time is never coming. You'll never have all the information. You'll never feel 100% ready. You'll never have zero risk. That's the point. You're supposed to move forward despite uncertainty, because the people who win aren't the ones who waited until they had the best plan. They're the ones who started with what they had, learned as they went, and refused to stop. In life, thinking without action is like buying a gym membership and never going. You can own the idea, the dream, the plan, but without putting in the work, before, nothing changes. You don't need more clarity to act. You need more action to get clarity. And every day you spend overthinking is another day you could have spent building the life you want. If you want to move forward, stop asking for what if it doesn't work, and start asking, what can I do right now to find out? Because the truth is, action beats overthinking every single time. Distractions are the silent killers of potential. They don't crash into your life with warning signs or loud alarms. They creep in quietly, disguised as harmless habits, quick breaks, or just for a minute activities. But here's the truth. Before, distractions are like slow leaks in a boat. They don't sink you instantly, but they drain your time, your energy, and your focus until you can't move forward anymore. And the worst part, most people have no idea how much these distractions are costing them. Before, every goal you have, whether it's building a business, getting fit, improving a skill, or simply becoming a better version of yourself, requires something very simple but very rare: sustained, focused effort. That's your most valuable currency. Before, not money, not talent, not even connections. Focus. The sharper it is, the faster you can cut through challenges. But the moment you allow distractions to scatter your attention, you lose that edge. Think about your phone for a second. It's an amazing tool, but for most people, it's also the most efficient distraction device ever created. Notifications, social media feeds, endless short videos, all engineered to steal your attention. Before, you open it to check one thing, and 30 minutes later, you're still scrolling, your mind jumping from one random clip to the next. Before, your brain flooded with dopamine hits for doing absolutely nothing productive. Those 30 minutes aren't just 30 minutes lost. They're a fracture in your focus. When you return to your work, it can take another 20 minutes to get back into a deep, productive state. Repeat that cycle enough times, and you've thrown away hours as every day without realizing it. It's not just technology, though. Distractions can come from people, environments, and even your own habits. That coworker who stops by just to chat, the clutter on your desk that pulls your eyes away, the background noise that constantly breaks your train of thought. Each one chips away at your ability to stay locked in. And here's the kicker in. Most distractions feel small, so we tolerate them. We don't realize that success doesn't die from big disasters. It dies from 1,000 tiny interruptions. If you want to delete distractions, you have to treat your focus like a fortress. That means putting up walls between yourself and anything that pulls your attention away from what truly matters. Turn off non-essential notifications. Put your phone in another room while you work. Create a dedicated workspace that signals to your brain, this is where I get things done. Learn to say no, not just to people, but to activities that feel urgent in the moment, but are meaningless in the long run. Some people will resist this. They'll say it's too extreme, that life's too short to be so rigid. But here's the reality. The moments you protect from distractions are the moments you get to actually live intentionally. Without focus, you're at the mercy of whatever comes your way. With focus, you choose what gets your energy. Deleting distractions isn't about becoming a productivity machine. It's about regaining control. It's about choosing creation over consumption, action over passivity, progress over comfort. Every minute you take back from distractions is a minute you can invest in building the life you actually want. And when you stack enough of those distraction-free minutes together, you create momentum. The force that takes ordinary people to extraordinary places. The world isn't going to get less distracting. If anything, it's only getting noisier. The question is, will you train yourself to guard your attention like your future depends on it? Because it does. Your focus is your life steering wheel. If you let distractions grab it, don't be surprised when you end up somewhere you never wanted to be. I can also give you a 1-minute stage delivery version of this that sounds like a hard-hitting Hormozy style line drop if you want it to punch harder for an audience. People wait. They wait for the perfect time, the perfect moment, the perfect set of conditions before they act. They wait until they feel ready, until they have more money, more confidence, more clarity, or more support. The problem is that moment never comes. Life doesn't suddenly hand you a green light with a sign saying, now is the time to start. If anything, life keeps throwing obstacles, distractions, and doubts your way. Waiting for the perfect time is just a socially acceptable way to procrastinate, and procrastination is a slow form of self-sabotage. For here's the hard truth: readiness is not a prerequisite for action, it's a product of action. People think, once I feel ready, before I'll start, but it actually works the other way around. You start, and along the way you become ready. You figure it out as you go. You make mistakes, you adjust, you learn. That's how skills are built and confidence is earned, through doing, not waiting. For if you talk to anyone who has built something meaningful, you'll find they all started before they felt fully prepared. They didn't have all the answers before, they just took the first step. The myth of the perfect time is seductive because it allows you to avoid discomfort. Starting something new is scary, it's uncertain, and uncertainty makes us want to cling to what feels safe. So we tell ourselves, I'll do it when the kids are older, or I'll do it when I have more savings, or I'll do it when I have more time. But when moments keep moving further away, life doesn't get less busy. Problems don't magically disappear. If anything, new ones show up to take their place. If you keep waiting, you'll look back and realize you've been preparing for years without actually starting. The people who make progress understand that imperfect action beats perfect inaction every single time. They don't wait for conditions to line up before they move with what they have. They understand that starting small, messy, and even wrong is still better than not starting at all. Momentum is built through movement, and movement doesn't require perfection. It requires commitment. A shaky first step today is worth more than the perfect step you never take. The fear behind waiting for the perfect time often comes from worrying about failure. We think, if I wait until everything's just right, I'll avoid making mistakes. But failure isn't something to avoid. It's how you learn. It's the tuition you pay for growth. Delaying your start just delays the lessons you need to succeed. In fact, the longer you wait, the more intimidating it becomes to take that first step, because the gap between where you are and where you want to be keeps growing. If you want proof that the perfect time doesn't exist, look at history. Every great business invention and movement started in less than perfect conditions. Apple started in a garage. Airbnb began when its founders couldn't afford rent. The Wright brothers built their first airplane without a college degree in engineering. None of them waited for a perfect economy, unlimited resources, or unanimous approval. They started where they were with what they had, and they built from there. You can spend your whole life waiting for the stars to align, or you can start moving and adjust your course as you go. Life rewards those who take action, not those who sit on the sidelines rehearsing for a game they never enter. There will always be another reason to wait, but there will never be a better day to start than today. The conditions you think you need will often show up only after you've begun. And if you never begin, you'll never see them. So stop waiting. Stop preparing for a moment that doesn't exist. Take the first step now, messy or not, because the perfect time is a lie and the clock is still ticking.